She mentions something her ex used to do, or you notice a habit that seems shaped by a previous relationship, and suddenly you're comparing yourself to someone you've never even met. This specific insecurity trips up a lot of guys because it feels concrete, like there's an actual competitor with a track record, instead of just abstract self-doubt. Today, how to actually handle being compared to an ex, whether it's real or mostly in your own head. Let's get into it. First, recognize that most comparisons happen in your imagination more than in her actual words. She mentions an ex once in passing, and your brain runs a full analysis. Was that a compliment to him? Is she still hung up? Am I falling short somehow? Usually a passing mention is just that, a passing mention, part of a normal conversation about someone's past, not a coded evaluation of how you measure up. Check whether the comparison is actually happening, or whether you're the one generating it. Second, understand that an ex existing doesn't threaten your position the way it feels like it does. She dated someone before you. That's just how relationships work for almost everyone past a certain age. The existence of a past doesn't diminish the present unless you decide to treat it as a competition instead of just history. Most people don't want a replica of an ex. They want something different, which is often exactly why that relationship ended in the first place. Third, notice when you're trying to compete with a version of someone you don't actually know. You're not really comparing yourself to her ex. You're comparing yourself to your own imagined, likely exaggerated version of him, built from a handful of mentioned details. That imagined competitor is almost always more impressive in your head than the actual person probably was, because insecurity fills in gaps with the worst possible assumptions rather than realistic ones. Fourth, resist the urge to ask probing questions about the relationship just to gather ammunition for your own anxiety. Digging for details. How serious was it? What did he do that you liked? Why did it end? Usually doesn't provide the reassurance you're hoping for. It just gives your anxious brain more material to work with. If she wants to share history naturally, that's fine, but interrogating for comparison purposes rarely ends well for your own peace of mind. Fifth, watch for the trap of trying to be deliberately different from what you imagine the ex was like as a strategy. Overcorrecting into an exaggerated version of yourself just to contrast with an imagined competitor usually reads as inauthentic because it's reactive rather than genuine. Being yourself, the actual you, is a stronger position than performing the opposite of someone you've never met and don't actually know much about. Sixth, remember that if she's with you now, some version of the comparison has already resolved itself in your favor. She's choosing to spend time with you in the present, not staying in a relationship with someone from the past. That ongoing choice matters more than any single detail about history. If you were truly losing some invisible comparison, she wouldn't be here having this conversation with you in the first place. Seventh, build your security independently of any comparison at all, not just this specific one. If insecurity about an ex is easy to trigger, it's usually not really about the ex. It's about a broader vulnerability to comparison in general. That vulnerability will just find a new target if this particular one gets resolved. A coworker, a friend, anyone else who exists in her life. The actual fix is building general security, not winning this one specific imagined contest. So here's the full picture. Most comparisons happen in your head more than in her actual words. So check that before reacting. An ex existing doesn't threaten your position by default. You're usually competing with an exaggerated imagined version, not the real person. Don't dig for details just to fuel your own anxiety. Don't overcorrect into a performed opposite of someone you don't actually know. Remember that her choosing you now already answers the comparison in practice. And build general security instead of just resolving this one specific worry. Handled this way, an ex becomes just a fact about her history, not a threat to your present. Peace.